Warning. The program you're about to watch contains explicit language and descriptions of adult themes and graphic violence that people may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
At dawn, they marched. Half a day into the journey, Kaizo suddenly raised a hand, bringing the army to a halt. His sharp eyes scanned the landscape. A cold sensation crept up his spine. Meanwhile, a thunderstorm is brewing in the sky. "Something isn't right," he muttered to Arthur. The wind shifted. The battlefield awaited, with a flash of lightning and thunder following after. The sky begins to release water droplets. Slow drizzle began to pour. The enemy's army emerges from both sides. A pincer ambush. Kaizo shouts, "Do not falter. Arthur, guard the rear. Everyone, stand your ground." Right before the enemy's engaged, lightning strikes and heavy rain pours down. The battlefield erupts into chaos as the enemy charges from both directions. Swords clash, arrows pierce the air, and the cries of the wounded echo through the valley. Kaizo fights fiercely, but his army is losing ground. The enemy's advantage is overwhelming, and his soldiers' morale is crumbling. As their numbers dwindle to only a few thousand, hope begins to slip away. Then, from the horizon, another army arrives. The storm is relentless. Water and electricity continue their course. At its head stands a man Kaizo recognizes instantly, the assassin from before. Kaizo grips his sword, preparing for another battle. But before he can react, a fresh wave of Highland soldiers surges in from the side. "Another ambush," he warns. The assassin raises his sword and shouts, "Attack!" Kaizo braces for the worst, only to watch in shock as the assassin's forces charge at the Highland army instead. The assassin himself lunges into battle, cutting down enemy soldiers with ruthless precision. In the midst of the battle, they spun around. Kaizo and the assassin's swords clash briefly. "What are you doing?" Kaizo demands. "Fighting for you, king," the assassin replies. They fight back to back for a brief moment. Kaizo exhales, realizing he is not an enemy, but an ally. Kaizo then breaks formation and engages into another fight. In the chaos, Kaizo spots a familiar figure, the man from the bar. A Highland soldier raises his weapon to strike him down, but Kaizo steps in, cutting the enemy down just in time. "You too?" Kaizo asks. The man nods. "Yes, your majesty. I'm here to fight." With this unexpected alliance, the tide turns. The Highland army wavers under the combined assault. One by one, their soldiers fall or flee in terror. Soon, what remains of their army scatters into the wilderness. The sky slowly stops its weather as if the end of the battle signal its end. As the dust settles, a soldier steps forward and kneels before Kaizo. Kaizo watches in confusion as the soldier removes his helmet. His breath catches. "Ark," Kaizo said in surprise and confusion. The young man smiles. "Yes, your majesty." Kaizo stares, struggling to find the words. "Where? How?" Ark chuckles. "We have a lot to talk about." Kaizo shakes his head, still in disbelief. "We do, but first, I need to tend to my injured men." He moves among his soldiers, helping where he can. Once they are stabilized, he finds a rock and sits, allowing exhaustion to catch up with him. The assassin approaches. "Your Majesty," he says, "I wish to serve you." Kaizo narrows his eyes. "An assassin swearing loyalty? I've met your kind before. You serve only gold." The assassin meets his gaze. "I know what I am. But that day you spared me. You gave me something I never had before. Mercy. It made me question everything. I no longer want to be a hired killer. I want to fight for something real." "Abigail recruited you, didn't she?" Kaizo questioned him. "Yes, your majesty. I owe the queen my life. Her compassion spared mine." Kaizo studies him for a long moment. "What's your name?" "Octavius." Octavius hesitates before adding, "And there's something you should know. The man who hired me to kill you and your queen was the Prince of Highland." Kaizo's expression hardens. "The one who is now their king." Octavius nods. "Yes, he took the throne by force. He murdered his own father." Octavius informed him. "That's unfortunate. Then our war is far from over." Octavius steps away. and Ark approaches. Ark, Kaizo says, still trying to comprehend it all. Tell me what happened to you. Ark sighs. After you left me on the beach, a fisherman found me and nursed me back to health. He became like a father to me. I searched for you for years, but I feared the worst. Then one day, Queen Abigail came to our town, recruiting soldiers. When I heard your name, I knew it had to be you, so I joined, hoping to see you again. Kaizo nods, taking it in. Tell me, my friend, how did you become king? Ark curiously asks. Kaizo gives him a short version of his past. So, Ark smirks. You were the princess's bodyguard, and she fell in love with you? Classic. Kaizo chuckles. Fate works in strange ways. Ark straightens. I want to fight by your side, Kaizo, like we did when we were young, your majesty. Kaizo grips his shoulder. Then fight with me, my friend, and don't call me majesty. Arthur watches from nearby, arms crossed. How do you keep running into people from your past? Kaizo grins. The road is full of surprises. Then, he steps onto the rock and addresses his army. Listen up, we will rest here, but not all of you will follow me to the enemy's base. I will choose a select force to come with me. The rest of you, stay here until we return. Is that understood? Yes, sir, his soldiers answer in unison. Kaizo selects 100 warriors, including Ark, Arthur, and Octavius, and prepares for the next stage of battle. The plan was simple: infiltrate before dawn, strike from within, and take the enemy by surprise. Kaizo stood before his team. Ark, Arthur, Octavius, and himself would slip into the enemy's base while 100 soldiers waited for the signal. Inside, they would find Terry, who had been planted within the castle. Only when the attack began would the rest of their forces invade. We do not harm unarmed civilians. Understood? Kaizo's voice was firm. The soldiers nodded in unison. Any objections to the infiltration? Silence. Good. We move out in an hour. Get ready. As Kaizo and his team vanished into the night, Abigail was already on the move. With 50 soldiers at her back, she rode hard toward the northern border. The first camp confirmed what she already suspected. Kaizo was deep in enemy territory. The second told her he was heading straight for the castle. Without hesitation, she spurred her horse forward. She had to reach him before it was too late. Meanwhile, Kaizo and his team slipped into the enemy's stronghold, unseen. They moved swiftly, taking out unsuspecting guards before reaching the dungeons. Locked behind iron bars, Terry and his crew awaited rescue. Kaizo made quick work of freeing the prisoners, but just as he reached Terry, a voice rang out. Well, looks like the rats are out of their hole. The enemy commander stood at the entrance. A wicked grin stretched across his face. Before Kaizo could react, an explosion shook the castle. Their army signaled to attack. Go, Terry ordered. I'll deal with him. Kaizo hesitated, reaching for Terry's chains, but the commander struck. Terry shoved Kaizo back. I said go. Kaizo clenched his jaw but turned and ran, leaving Terry behind. The commander sneered. You're still chained, slave. What do you plan to do? Terry exhaled, shifting into a Wing Chun stance. The commander threw a punch. Terry deflected and countered with rapid, precise strikes. Even with short practice of the art, Terry was able to overpower the commander. The commander stumbled, overwhelmed, his breath ragged. With one swift motion, Terry looped his chains around the man's throat and pulled tight. Outside, battle raged. The castle was in chaos, flames licking the sky. Kaizo and his team fought their way through, cutting down enemies left and right. Kaizo lets his guard down for a second. Then, a flash of movement. A soldier lunged at Kaizo from behind. An arrow whistled through the air, striking the attacker dead. Kaizo turned. Abigail sat atop her horse, bow in hand, eyes locked on him. She smirked. Attack! She shouted, and her army surged forward. She leaped from her horse, drawing twin daggers as she sprinted to Kaizo's side. Their eyes met. You saved me again, Kaizo said, breathless. You're my husband, she replied. Of course I did. Then the enemy closed in. Together they fought in perfect sync, a deadly dance of steel and instinct. Every strike, every movement was in harmony. The battlefield thinned, and Kaizo's gaze snapped toward the castle doors. The king, he's mine. He started forward, but before any enemy could follow, Abigail, Ark, Arthur, Terry, and Octavius blocked the entrance. No one gets through, Abigail declared, gripping her daggers. Kaizo paused only for a second. He leaned in, pressed a quick kiss to her cheek, then turned and sprinted after the king. Abigail smiled. Then her expression hardened. She raised her blades. Kaizo pursued the king through the winding halls of the castle, his footsteps echoing against the cold stone. The king dashed into a secluded chamber, only to realize there was nowhere left to run. Kaizo stepped inside, his sword steady in his grasp. "This war was between our fathers," he said, his voice calm yet firm. "Now they're both gone. It doesn't have to be our war to finish. I'm giving you one last chance to surrender." The king scoffed, his hand reaching for his blade. "Surrender?" His voice dripped with disdain as he unsheathed his sword. Kaizo sighed. "I feel sorry for you." Steel clashed in the dimly lit room, sparks flying as Kaizo and the king engaged in battle. The fight was short-lived. Kaizo's skill far outmatched his opponent's. Within moments, he disarmed the king, knocking him to the ground. The defeated ruler crawled backward, desperation flickering in his eyes. Kaizo stepped forward, his sword pointed at the king's chest. At that moment, his comrades, Arthur, Terry, and Octavius, arrived, breathless. But Abigail was still behind. They stopped at the doorway, watching in tense silence. Kaizo raised his blade. "After your death, there will be peace. Kaizo, don't!" Abigail's voice rang out as she finally caught up. Kaizo hesitated, glancing toward her. That moment of distraction cost him. The king lunged, knocking Kaizo's sword away and plunging a poisoned dagger into his left arm. Pain flared through Kaizo's body as the king pressed a hidden switch. A metal cage dropped from the ceiling, trapping them both inside. His comrades rushed forward, gripping the iron bars in horror. The king chuckled, wiping sweat from his brow. "Peace? I don't care for peace. I want power. I know I can't defeat you, but now you're poisoned. Even if you kill me, you won't live to see another day." Kaizo clenched his jaw. He could already feel the venom spreading, weakening his limbs. He had to be careful. Every wasted movement would speed up the poison's effects. Kaizo shifts into a confident fighting stance. The king lunged again, dagger in hand. Kaizo dodged efficiently, countering only when necessary. Despite the pain, his instincts remained sharp. He knocked the dagger away and struck the king across the jaw, sending him staggering back. But then, Kaizo coughed. Blood dripped from his lips. The king grinned, sensing weakness. He attacked ruthlessly, landing several blows as Kaizo struggled to remain standing. His movements grew sluggish, his vision blurred. Then, summoning the last of his strength, Kaizo struck, one final punch that sent the king flying across the cage. But the effort drained him. Kaizo collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. Abigail clutched the bars, her eyes brimming with tears. "Kaizo!" He crawled toward her, reaching for her hand. Abigail reaching for his hands through the bars. "Listen. Love." She panted. "Just kill him. End it." Abigail demanded. Tears streaked down Abigail's face. "No, forget compassion, forget second chances. Some people don't deserve mercy." Kaizo gave a faint smile, his voice barely a whisper. "It was you who taught me that compassion changes lives. Look around, it had served me well." His comrades remained silent, their hearts heavy with understanding. "If I should die, you will carry on our compassion, our legacy," Kaizo weakly states. Abigail shook her head. No, not without you," she whispered. Kaizo tried to reach her, but before their hands could touch, the king's boot came down, kicking Kaizo's arm away. He crashed onto his back, his body too weak to resist. The king straddled him, fingers closing around Kaizo's throat. Abigail screamed, slamming her fists against the bars. "Let him go!" She thrashed against the metal, her voice raw with rage. "I'll kill you, you bastard! I'll kill you!" Abigail's screams turned into sobs. She continues to tug the bars. Arthur tried to pull her away from the bars, but Abigail resisted. "You worthless asshole!" She screamed before letting go, knowing there's nothing else she can do. She turns and places her palms on her face and buried her cries into Arthur's chest. Arthur pats her back, feeling the helplessness. The prince isn't fazed by Abigail's anger. Rather, he smirked in satisfaction. Kaizo gasped, his vision darkening. Then, in a final surge of willpower, he kicked the king off. The king stumbled backward, right next to the dagger. Kaizo pushes himself up. He coughed violently, blood pooling beneath him. The king grabbed the weapon, fury twisting his features. "Why won't you just die already?" He lunged. Kaizo didn't move until the last second. He sidestepped, hooking his foot around the king's ankle. The king stumbled down. He quickly gets back on his feet as he steps forward for another attack, his foot slipping on Kaizo's puddle of blood. The dagger, still in his grasp, drove straight into his own throat. Silence fell. Everyone's jaws dropped and eyes widened. The king's body collapsed in a heap, gurgling, his own arrogance sealing his fate. Kaizo staggered forward, then crumpled to the ground unconscious, never looking back. He didn't even know how the evil king had died. The cage lifted. Abigail bolted forward, falling to her knees beside him. "Kaizo!" she sobbed, cradling his face. The others rushed in, gathering around him. They helped lift Kaizo's body. For 7 long days, Kaizo teetered between life and death. Then, his eyes fluttered open. His vision was blurry, his body weak. But as he turned his head, the first thing he saw was Abigail, sitting beside him. The moment their eyes met, tears streamed down her face. She let out a sharp, joyful scream. Outside, Arthur, Terry, and Octavius rushed in, fearing the worst. But as they saw Abigail's smile, relief washed over them. "Where am I?" Kaizo croaked. Abigail wiped her tears. "In our kingdom." Kaizo glanced at his comrades. Their expressions were full of warmth and gratitude. Abigail kissed his hand, still unable to speak. Arthur grinned. "You made it, my friend." Ark chuckled. "You were always the strong one." Octavius nodded. "I had faith you'd survive." "And I never doubted you, master," Terry added. Kaizo exhaled, smiling faintly. "Thanks, guys." Ark patted Arthur's shoulder. "All right, let's give them some time." The group stepped out, leaving Abigail alone with him. She traced her fingers along his jaw. Kaizo wiped away her tears, giving her a soft smile. When he fully recovered, Kaizo called for a gathering of the townspeople, his army, and his allies. Standing before them, he spoke with conviction. "The war between the highlands and lowlands is over. As long as I am king, I forbid any more bloodshed between our kingdoms. We must not let hatred define us. Compassion and love will heal our wounds. This will be our legacy." The crowd erupted into cheers. Among them, Thomas, once an enemy, stood silently, nodding in agreement. As the celebration continued, Abigail turned to Kaizo, her eyes gleaming. "You know," she murmured, placing a hand on her stomach, "I'm carrying our own legacy." Kaizo's breath caught. His eyes widened as he looked down at her belly. A slow, joyous smile spread across his face. They shared a kiss as the crowd's cheers roared even louder. The end.